Hi guys, Sam here. 2021 has been a remarkable year for China, where the country's economic growth slowed down in recent months due to multiple COVID outbreaks, power shortages, and a regulatory crackdown. The overall economic recovery is still stable. So hereby we just mark four keywords to summarize this impressive year. The first keyword is anti-competitive. Ever since November 2020, when China suspended the IPO of Ant Group, which is Alibaba's financial arm, the regulators have been tackling a long-simmering problem in tech sector, anti-competitive practice. So after a 4-month anti-monopoly probe, Alibaba was fined a record RMB 18 billion. In addition, the fintech giant Ant Group was asked for a wide-ranging rectification, including to rectify its risky lending practice and data privacy protection. A string of anti-competitive behaviors, such as forced exclusivity arrangements, also known as picking sides, a cash burning strategy to gain market shares, and unapproved M&A activities, which may cause industry monopoly, misleading advertising, and deceptive and unfair pricing has been targeted by the market regulators. As a part of the anti-monopoly campaign, China enforced antitrust guidelines for the platform economy, which will be responsible for conducting antitrust investigations and oversight into M&A activities and the market competition. The second keyword is education. With the aim to reduce the workload of students and promote educational equity, China has embarked on reforms to its educational system, including the bans on for-profit tutoring in core education and the cancellation of the written exams in first and second grades, as well as the rollout of China's first family education promotion law. The reforms have overhauled the structure of China's tutoring industry, where a swarm of tutoring institutions went bankrupt. Even the previous giant Xintongfang was heavily impacted. The third keyword is carbon neutrality at the emission peak. China announced the long-awaited action plan for hitting carbon emission peak by 2030. In September, Chinese President Xi Jinping said China would stop supporting coal power projects overseas. To achieve the net zero carbon emission target, China is expected to roll out more policies to regulate polluting commodity industries, transportation pollution, and the household waste. Consequently, there will be several opportunities in the sustainable energy industries and the environmental protection. In July, China launched the world's largest carbon trading market in Shanghai to cut carbon emission growth. At launch, the carbon market covers more than 2,000 companies that operate coal and gas plants to produce power and heat. But policymakers plan on expanding the scope of the carbon market to include other polluting industries, including steel, cement, chemicals, and aviation. The fourth keyword is common prosperity. Chinese top officials has been increasingly promoting common prosperity this year. In fact, this concept is behind many of the top leaders' key decisions, including supporting small and mid-sized companies, regulatory crackdown on tech giants, improving labor protection, the reforms in the education system, subsidizing of vocational training, introducing the property tax, and also encouraging the charity and donations by the rich individuals and their enterprises. It is expected that in the next decades, the country will be more focused on addressing inequality and redistributing wealth, and also creating more opportunities for the upward social mobility. Given that the COVID pandemic is still going on, the US-China rivalry refuses to abate, and the global supply chain still remains stressed. There will be plenty of internal and external variables to account for in the new year. In the next video, I will share some of my predictions of China Tech in 2022. You can also leave any comments below, and I'm always open to discuss. Thanks for your time.